And now for the exciting conclusion of cup on block. I begin by lifting out a little color below the cup on either side. This helps create some light behind the cup and the sense of a little air around the area where it's not making contact with the block. I want to increase the tonal contrast, so I'm going to start by putting my darks in. And this dark has a lot of pigment and not a lot of water. Keep in mind that watercolor tends to dry a little bit paler, so it's okay to be a bit aggressive with your darks. And once again, I'm using a flat bristle brush. I really don't tend to use a lot of brushes when I'm painting. I go back to the flat bristle brush, a large hake brush for glazing, which I don't demonstrate in this video, and occasionally a small round brush, and that's about it. And using that small round brush, I put some dark at the bottom of the cup where it makes contact with the block, and then I also put a little bit at the edge of the cup, which is slightly elevated off the block. I then put a little bit of a line at the edge of the block in front in an attempt to sharpen up that plane and define it a bit more. And back to the bristle brush, I put more dark on the front plane of the block, and tonal contrast tends to make things pop forward in space. So if you want to bring something closer, you can increase tonal contrast in an area to do that. Using the edge of the brush, I use both the negative and the positive space to help bring more volume to the cup and to reinforce the space that I've put in. And you can always lift out a little bit of color or paint if it seems too liquidy, like it might run where you don't want it. Using a warmer color, a paler color, I glaze over the top of the block because I didn't want that stark white there. Putting a very diluted glaze of gray on the background on the left side behind the cup helps push the cup further forward in space, and it also allows an opportunity to do a little wet on wet painting. By putting wet paint into an already wet area of the painting, it can spread out and create beautiful effects, but it also won't go into areas you didn't get wet. Using a dry brush technique, I add a little bit of dark here and there, just to a few places where I want a little more tonal contrast. And at this point, I've decided it is finished painting, so I can take the tape off, doing so gently to try not to tear the paper. And if you press the tape on jeans or a piece of fabric a few times before you put it on your paper to begin with, it can help protect against tearing when you remove it at the end. And there's the final painting.